Okay, so I had a shoot today that is essentially the same as the environmental portrait project that you guys have to do right now. Specifically, what I did was that I went out to photograph a family out in the little town of Hellendale, which is in between Adelanto and Victorville. The client for me in this is the Housing Authority of the County of San Bernardino, which is easily one of my favorite clients because most of the shoots are always happy stories. It's people getting into their first home, getting into any home at all. And, it's really a good thing, and I love being able to help support that organization and do work with them. So in this case, I had this shoot with a family of 5 kids and a mom who just moved into their new house. So I went out there, and now that I'm back, I have the whole take on my SD card. I pulled it out of the camera because that's just how I like to do it. But in here, I've got my card, and I can see that I have 306 frames. That's how many frames I shot. Now, what I do in my process is that I take my folder and I use a program called Photo Mechanic to open them up. And this is, remember how I kind of bagged on Adobe Bridge? This is why. I use Photo Mechanic because I can quickly select all the pictures and I can scroll through them very fast and make some quick judgments as to which ones I want to throw away right away, which ones I want to keep, so on and so forth. So you can really kind of see in this whole process, my initial 305 or 6, whatever I said, I can take a quick peek at them. And what you can see I did here is that I had the family come meet me outside because we have the COVID considerations. I had them all come out. I posed them on this little set of rocks, and then they just kind of, had their dynamics. One child has autism. I think a couple others might be on the spectrum. But they were all kind of having their own little movie play out. I have some random frames like this, like a lens sitting there and the power cord to my strobe. Anyway, so my process was that I brought them out in front of the house first, posed them, had them look here, look there, and shot a lot of frames. I went wide a little bit, changed my angle a little bit, and that didn't work. Moved more and kind of just continued working it. Because there are very few frames here where everybody is looking at the camera or smiling, or I'm not even sure I have one, to be honest with you. But like I say, I just kept working it. And over the course of the hour and a half or 2 that I was there, we tried things. So once I felt I shot enough of this situation, I had Mom come out front. Now, little Oliver came with her, and we kind of had to deal with him, so she picked him up, and, he was pretty squirrely. So sometimes that makes for a nice picture. I don't think this is one of those times. So I also knew that in a few minutes, he'd squirrel his way right out of her arms. And sure enough, now here's where my little external strobe, I think, did a nice job because I had it set just right. You can tell the exposure is a little different there. Oops, another misfire. But with her in the foreground, I could light her and make her stand out. Again, remember those elements of composition. By brightening her and making a solid exposure of her, she really jumps off. She's clearly the lead person of the image. Anyway, moms are always the lead person of the image. So here's a little tighter, here's a little looser. They're both good pictures. This one has more information because you have the house, you have the car. This one's a little bit more of her. You still have the car, you still have the house, but they have a different feel to them. The lower angle, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I just keep working it. And ultimately, send her back and say, okay, so let's try this again. Why don't you guys all stand there? And long story short, it's Squirrel City. I shot some verticals, which I have to then change my orientation in photomechanic. And it's not difficult. Anyway, long story short is I've got a lot of pictures here. Ultimately, then we go inside and I start shooting, have her sit down. I tend to like to set up a situation and then let people interact with each other because I feel like I get honest moments that way. Sometimes I have to totally dictate, like, look here, don't look there, do this, do that. But, with kids like this, it never works. But with Mom, yeah, she's rolling her eyes. She was great. She was really great to work with. Anyway, again, we had this one setup. I moved around to try to get a nice composition. Then I moved her around and kind of realized Anthony, the boy in the hat, wasn't going to be participating anytime soon. So I kind of said, well, let's just work with these kids. And, it's okay. That's kind of a nice picture, I think. Again, you can't worry about too much what the kids are doing, but Mom looks good. And she's the focus of the story anyway. Some out of focus blurs and things, a loose shot. Sometimes I do this just to change people's attention span. I moved back in. Oh, then I went to the other side of the couch, and the girls all turned around and faced me. And so this was kind of a nice little situation. I like a few of these moments. I don't know that they work well for my client, but I thought they worked pretty well. Anyway, so I kept shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting. You'll see that I went back and I went and closed these blinds because it's a big distraction back there. Again, this isn't for a newspaper. I'm not trying to be totally uninvolved. I realized that I was going to get better light on them if I closed the blinds back there. So I did. And I changed my ISO. Some of the exposures are really horrible. I've got some blur here. And so on and so forth. I'm just going to whip through a lot of these. And ultimately, I got to a point where I realized I'm not quite sure I have the greatest picture, but I know I'm not going to get anything better than what I already have. Because I'm losing them altogether. Mom needs to go do stuff. I'm not getting anything more productive. And then Anthony decides to look at me. And so I go over here, and I have this. Now, this I kind of like. I'm not sure if the family is going, or like if the agency is going to use a picture like this, but through the process of shooting a lot, eventually he came around, all the way to the point of actually following me out to the door to say goodbye. And this, I couldn't really choreograph a new picture at this point, but that was fun. Anyway, so the process here is that typically what I do is that I what I'll do next in photomechanics, that you'll see the file name is DSC12 whatever. So what I do is that I come up here, I select them all, then I come up to File, and then I rename them all. When I rename them, I can give them a new name, set a new sequence, and then that way I know what they all are. This is always going to be the Hidalgo family, because every picture that comes out of the camera is going to be DSC something. So I've solved that problem right away. In photomechanic also, I have the metadata, and this is where I write my caption. I write my caption in here, and then I can apply it to all of the pictures all at once. In a case like this, where the people are all the same, I just have to write one caption and boom, apply it to all of them. So I've done that. I've done that with these. And what I have here now is my edited take. This is my process here. This is the folder that's now on the desktop, not on the card. So I started with 306. I made an initial edit down to about 61 frames. There's these XMP files. Those are like the caption data files that come along that are added with RAW. We'll explain that another time. But ultimately, then I did another edit on those, made another set of selections, and this is now down to about 30 or 29 pictures. So I went through and looked at all those even more, and then I opened them all up, and then I made JPEGs. And now I settled on having 22 JPEGs, and that's what I'm going to upload for the client. 22 JPEGs. I'm going to send them up to a private server. Then I'll send them a link and let them download it. So I've gone from 305 frames down to 22. And that's kind of the process. Again, it's like, of these, like you'll see what I'm going to send them is, I'll put this in photomechanical. So I'm going to send them a few outdoor ones. I did a little bit of retouching on these. I think that's a nice picture. This is a little bit of an angle, but here's mom. Here's another mom. Mom again, and more. These are my favorite shots. But here's this. I was able to tweak this a bit. I did burn down the background a little bit. Again, I'm not trying to be a photojournalist on this shoot, but I am shooting an environmental portrait. A vertical, another vertical. And in this case, we're missing a child, but it's kind of a nice moment. Of the inside ones, I chose these. Actually, I might delete one even still. I haven't uploaded them yet. But I cropped some of these to really focus more on their faces. I think they're cute. It's like you can never go wrong with kids unless they're picking their nose and stuff like that, which... that happens. Anyway, this is the selection I'm going to send up there, including this one of Anthony. And that's the shoot. So my overriding point, and again, the reason I'm showing you this, is that when you shoot environmental portraits, shoot a lot. Pretty much when you shoot anything, shoot a lot. Then you can whittle them down. But a lot of times you got to keep working at the situation and let the good things happen. Because a lot of times they don't happen on their own. You do have to just kind of wait. Like I said, I finally got a decent picture of Anthony, whereas he had been, hiding the entire time. So there you have it. I hope this is helpful. Enjoy your shoots. Bye.